Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name's Jack, this is Jthbooks, and it's time to talk about the books I read in December. I just quickly need to say a few things. First of all, I hope you had a wonderful holiday season, and I want to wish you all a happy new year. I hope it is your best year yet. I hope it just gives you what you want, desire, or need. If it's you just want to read some cracking good books this year, if you want a house, if you want job, happiness, love, I hope you get it, because I believe you deserve it, and you better believe you deserve it too. Second of all, I hit 1,000 subscribers, which I know is not many in the great wide world of things, but to me, that means a lot. So if you are watching this and you are subscribed, I want to say thank you so much. It really means a lot. I'd speak a bit more about it in the vlog that I'm filming, but I just want to say thank you quickly, because it made me happy. And thirdly, if you can hear building work, it's because building work is happening. If I can see her, she's up there on the guttering, bless her. She's got a hacking cough, so if you hear that, if you hear the banging, I can't help it. Next door's having some work done, and I'm having to put up with it. But let's talk about the books I read in December. I'm saying this to you, and I'm not quite sure I even believe it. But I read 12 books in December. I can't believe that. I can't. But I must have. I'm not a liar. But I did. I don't know how that happened. I have no idea how that happened. I think work is very stressful for me in December. You know, it's Christmas time, it's the busy season, and it was my first time doing it as the manager. So I just needed to be in a book when I got home. I just needed to be in a book. That was it. So, yeah. Shall we just talk about the books? Because there's a lot to get through. I know. This could be a long one. Buckle up. Get yourself a glass of Pepsi or a cup of tea or a coffee. An iced latte. I don't know. I don't drink coffee. Can you hear them? Sorry. Now I've started filming. They're the loudest they've ever been. They're like having a conversation about something. Not even work. But if you hear it, I'm really sorry. But I'm going to combine these first two books together because there was a festive reading vlog for them. I'll link it down below. Well, no one's going to watch it. Who wants to watch Christmas in January? But I did read these books in that, so it'll all be detailed in there. And I read Catered All the Way by Annabeth Albert and Look Up Handsome by Jack Strange. One of them I really enjoyed, and the other one, not so much. Which way is it? I enjoyed this one. In this one, we follow someone, Quinn, who is about to lose his queer bookshop in Hay on Wye, and he fights to keep it, and while he fights to keep it, he finds love. And this one, somebody is a gamer, and he wants his brother's best friend, basically, and he gets him multiple times. And I had to read it. Yes, yeah, like I said, it's linked in the below, but this one was a really sort of sweet, classic holiday rom-com. This one is set out to have a bit of fun, bit of sex when they fall in love, and that's what you get. If you're looking for a spicy read, this one. If you're looking for a sort of sweet, wholesome, sort of found family vibes almost, this one is for you. But I enjoyed this one. I did enjoy this one, but it's all in the vlog down below. Then, if you remember correctly, I read Brooklyn by Colm Tobin last month and really enjoyed it. And I had the sequel, which is Long Island, and I just had to pick it up. I can't remember the last time I read that. Where Brooklyn leaves off, I wanted to know. And in this, we follow Aisling 20 years later, and we also follow, it's hard to say without spoiling it, we also follow a couple of people that she met in Brooklyn when she went back towards the end of the book. I didn't know we were going to follow those people. I really enjoyed this. I gave it like a 4.5 stars, but what I will say is when you read Brooklyn, it's almost, to me, sort of feels like a fairy tale. Sort of, they're sort of in love. It's sort of against all the odds. You know, he's Italian American, she's Irish, and this one sort of shatters that fairy tale. It shatters it, really. It shows them 20 years on, not that happy, and a bit of a spoiler, but like in like the first pages, it's just this man knocks on her door and says, your husband's been cheating on you and my wife's now pregnant. And I was like, oh, no, he's got it wrong. He's got it wrong. Like, Tony wouldn't do that. Tony does that. Tony bloody does that. And then it's her sort of working out how to deal with it and her going back to Ireland. And like I said, then you get the perspective of people that she knew in Ireland. It was really, really good. And it's written beautifully. And I read it really quickly. And I loved it, but it shatters the illusion of Brooklyn. It absolutely does. Part of me wishes I'd never read it, but I'm glad I did. It answered a lot of questions, and yeah, I really did enjoy it. It just shattered me, absolutely shattered me. Next, I read The Boy I Love by William Hussey. Now, just for full transparency, this was sent to me because I am doing a paid ad for it on TikTok, which will come out later in January. If you want to follow me on TikTok, it's all linked down below, and Instagram, or just type in Jthbooks anywhere, you'll find me. But in this, we follow Stephen, who is returning to the front lines in World War One after his injury, after losing the boy he was in love with. And when he goes back, he meets Danny, who is charismatic and charming, and it's about their love story, whether their love will survive the war and whether they'll survive the war. And I really, really enjoyed this. It's YA, but it was really well done. It's really well researched. It's incredibly... It's just, when you're reading about the war and it doesn't shy away from things, it's going to be a hard read. It was a hard read at times, but I really liked their chemistry. I really liked the characters. I thought it was really believable. I thought it was really harrowing at points. It was tense at points. It's just a banger of a book. Just a banger of a book. But like I said, just for transparency, paid ad on TikTok. That's why I got this book, and that is why I am... But I wanted to read it before I don't want to lie about it. I didn't want to lie. Thank goodness I liked it. Next up, I read The Kingdom of Sand by Andrew Holleran. Now, in this, we follow an unnamed narrator who is an older gentleman. Well, to be honest, I didn't like this book, so I don't know what he'd done. I really don't know what he'd done. It's more about him sort of talking to a friend that is dying. Listen, I didn't like it. I gave this a 1 star. I thought it was really terrible. In the sense that, well, first of all, this might make you laugh. He, at the beginning of the book, is going to a bookstore. No, a video store. Bookstores, because I was holding a book. A video store. And I was like, yeah, okay, good for you. And he's like, I wonder who I'm going to see there. And I'm like, who does it matter who you're going to see at the video store? You're just going to fucking rent The Sound of Music and go home. Do you know what I mean? I thought he was like going to a Blockbuster. He was not. He was not going to a Blockbuster. He was going to a video store for some hanky-panky. I didn't even know that existed. Why was it called a video store? I still don't know. But he was not picking up The Sound of Music. Let's just say that. Julie Andrews was nowhere to be seen. I love the cover, but that's about it. Other than that... Oh, can you really hear that banging? Other than that, it's sort of a meander about old age, but every old person is painted with the same brush, that they're not individual, and I just feel like that would annoy old people, rightfully so. Just because they're old, they don't lose their wants or their needs or their characteristics. It was a bit infuriating to read, really. It was just about him sort of just like looking after his mother, but he just talked about it all the time. It was pointless. I didn't like it. I really, really didn't like this. I thought it was a waste of my time. It was a waste of my time. It could have been so much more. I have another Andrew Holleran book, and I don't want to read it now. It's put me off. Dance with the Dance. I know it's a bit of a classic. I will read it at some point, but it's gone way down the TBR. This has really put me off. I didn't like this at all. And then I finally read it. After years, after being on TBRs, 24 books to 22.4, end of the year tags, I finally read Darius the Great Deserves Better by Adib Khorram. Now, in this we follow Darius as he has returned from his summer trip to Iran, and he is back at school, and he has a boyfriend, and he's working, and it's just sort of about the perils of being a teenager and sort of being in love for the first time. It's a great follow-on from Darius the Great is Not Okay. I don't think it's not quite as good. That one is really special. But what I like about this, and what I think Adib Khorram does really well, is he writes really good teenagers. They're never sort of stupid or arrogant. He gets them to make sensible decisions, which is more enjoyable as a reader. I just think Darius is a really sort of great fleshed out character. I enjoyed the story. It was sort of a bit of a love triangle, a little bit, but it was more about Darius beginning to like who he is and standing up for himself and his family. And yeah, it was really good. It was really, really good. I'm so glad I finally read it. I think Darius the Great is Not Okay and Darius the Great Deserves Better is such a great duology. If you're looking for a YA duology, I think this is a great one to read. Then, for my non-fiction for the month, I know I was going to read one, but I was kindly sent by Bookrake, Outrage by Ellen Jones. Why the fight for LGBTQ equality is not yet won and what we can do about it. And in this, it's sort of split into sections. Let me find one. Marriage equality myth, home sweet home, mental health care, queer families, safe spaces. It was really, really brilliant. It had that sort of great mix that I really like in non-fiction, where it was personal stories and then facts and figures and, data to back it all up. And what I liked about this as well is at the end of every, not chapter, like, it has a bit what you can do about it, and then people to look up and information that people that are putting in the work in that section. So like the health consciousness section, these are people that were putting in the work. And it was great to see how far we've come, but shocking to see how far we've got to go. And really, in a way, how things are regressing, especially for the trans community. It was heartbreaking. And, it just made me realise how lucky I am. And I will say here, AKT is a homeless charity that helps LGBTQ people on the street find a home, get to a shelter, a safe space. And I did donate to that because I was sitting there in my nice warm bath, in my nice warm bed reading it, and I did donate to that. That is AKT. I'll link the website down below. It was £49, and that got a homeless LGBTQ person in a safe space for a night. So, it was inspiring, the book, really, and I will be doing that more often now. I think I'm lucky enough to be able to buy books. Maybe I'll buy a couple of books and I'll donate to that charity. So, yeah, it was really, really brilliant. It's out on January the 30th. Then I read Pity by Andrew McMillan. Andrew McMillan is the author of a couple of poetry books, and he is he put together the 100 Queer Poems, didn't he? He was sort of one of the editors on that. Editor is not the word I'm looking for, but I can't think... Moderator? No, I can't think what word I'm looking for. But in this, we follow Alex and Brian, who are brothers, and then Alex's son, Simon, who we just follow their story and how they interconnect, and how the mining strikes and how the Thatcher being Prime Minister affected lives and towns and stories and businesses. And I really liked this. I really liked it. I think it was really beautifully written. It had sort of these sections of the past of Alex and Brian's dad being a miner and the mine collapsing while he was down there. But that was really written beautifully. Like I say, sometimes when a poet writes a book, it's magic. I really, really liked it. The only thing for me was I just wanted more from it. I wanted more of an ending. I wanted it to be longer. I could have read another 300 pages of this and been so, so happy. It was... I want to say it was almost quite special, but if it had been longer, I think it could have even been on my... Sorry, my legs are going numb. My favourite books of the year, but I needed more from it. I needed more explained about Alex's story, about Brian's story. It was mainly about Simon, but there was so much more than could have been delved into, a deeper dive, and it would have been magical. But I really, really did like it. Then I read Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief by Rick Riordan. In this we follow Percy, who is attacked at school, and it turns out he is a half god, demigod, and him and two friends have to go on a mission to stop the gods creating a war over something that was stolen. I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I cannot tell you how little I know or care about the Greek gods. No offense. No offense. Would I like to go to Greece and see all the ancient Greek, statues and buildings? And yes, absolutely. But do I care? Did I care about this? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It wasn't for me. I know it was a middle grade book, but it felt really young, and that wasn't even really a problem. I just didn't care. I didn't particularly like Percy. I just didn't care. It was so good. I don't really have like a base knowledge of the Greek gods, almost, really. I don't. And I feel like you almost needed it. I feel like it expects you to know some. And good for kids if they know it. Good for them. Good for them. This kid doesn't know it. I didn't like it. I won't be continuing on. And it was like every person that they met was a god in disguise. But every time they were shocked. Every time. They would be like, they had to go back out into the real world after leaving the camp to go on this mission, and they'd meet someone and they'd be like, oh, they're nice. Oh, no, it's a god. And when it happened like for the 5th time, I'd be like, come on, Percy. Even I know. I figured it out. You can't figure it out? There wasn't one inkling inside you being like, could this person not be who they say they are? It happened so many times. But I don't think I'll be continuing on. When I put it up on Instagram and people are like, it gets better, they get better. So maybe, but probably not. Probably not. I probably won't be continuing on. And then I read The Mermaid of Black Conch by Monique Roffey. This is set in April 1976, and it is set in St. Constance, a small town called Black Conch, where a fisherman meets a mermaid, and then they sort of form this connection. And then when she goes up to his boat thinking it's his boat, she gets captured by other people. He steals her, keeps her in his house, and she begins to turn back into a woman. And it was absolutely brilliant. I loved this. I absolutely loved it. It was unlike anything I've ever read. It was beautifully written. To be honest, it was a contender for a book of the year. It was a contender for one of my books of the year. I should have even put it in the honourable mentions. I thought it was a little bit of magic. I think it's a really sort of clever look at how women are perceived in the world, and how women are perceived by men in the world. I think it's a look at colonialism, racism, all done really beautifully and tenderly in this story. It was just brilliant. It was brilliant. It was heartbreaking. It was just glorious. It's an absolutely brilliant book. I've owned this for so long. I'm so annoyed that I waited so long to read it. And also, like, it's got some beautiful poetry in it. I loved the mermaid's voice, that you sort of heard her head through poetry, and how she learned to be a human again. And the ending was really brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I loved it. And then I read The Party by Tessa Hadley. I'll put it here. I listened to it on Spotify. And this is about two women getting ready for a party where they meet two men who turn out to not be great men. It was like only a couple of hours listen. It wasn't very long. And I actually nearly bought this in the bookshop the last time I went. And I'm so glad I didn't. It wasn't great, this. I can't even see the point of it. I can't really remember much about it. I don't think the writing was anything special. I don't think the story was anything special. I'm just not sure what the purpose of it was. I'm not sure why it was written. I could be wrong. It could be like a loved book, but for me, I can't quite see it. Like, what was it trying to say? If it, I'm not saying a book was has to say something. Obviously it doesn't, but if it doesn't, it can at least be entertaining. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't for me, this one. And then I read, in the end, It Was All About Love by Musa Okwonga, which is a story of this black man moving to Germany, to Berlin to be specific, and what his life entails when it gets there, the sort of racism he has to deal with, and trying to find love, and trying to deal with anxiety, and what it means to be instead of choosing a career, his passion, to be a writer, to be an artist, instead of choosing sort of the safe route. And it was really, really beautiful. It was really well written. It was non-fiction. I don't know why I had it down as fiction. Can you really hear that banging? But yeah, it was just beautiful. It was so beautifully written. He is such a brilliant writer. Can I just read you a little section, because it was so beautiful. It had me crying on. I read this on New Year's Eve. So it had me crying on New Year's Eve. What a way to end the year. So you tell them what you think love is. You think that love is the small things. It is taking an hours-long Saturday afternoon walk by the lake with your partner and just listening. It is running them a warm bath and promising to them and to yourself that you will always be the very best person you can. Love is thinking ahead, being proactive about helping your partner to be happy. It is planning a surprise dinner for them the day they finish their exam 6 months from now. It is remaining grateful for them. It is continuing to thank them for the same things you did when you first met them. Oh, says your friend, I know what love is, you tell them gently. I would just like a chance at it. I could cry now. I could cry now. It was just a really sort of brilliant, beautiful, special book. And it was a great book to finish the year. And it was a great way. It's a great way to end my reading year, because in the end, it is all about love. He's not wrong. So, there we have it. I told you, buckle up, because it was a long one. I still can't believe I read that many books. I cannot believe I read that many books. I think I just really got my love for reading back, like the art of reading, like sitting down early, snuggle up, I think that just really, really happened, and I really enjoyed it. I loved it. So let me know if you've read any of these. Let me know how many books you read in December. Let me know. Just let me know. Wish me a happy new year. I want to thank you all so much for watching. Feel free to like and subscribe. And I'm going to speak to you all really, really soon.